Hi, I'm Daniel Metler from 2SEC Internet Solutions, and in this short video I'd like to show you our really new and cool JavaScript API for 2SexyContent. It's amazing. We can actually use 2SexyContent data in any kind of AJAX application and do really fun stuff with it, even if the server only supports tokens. So this is what I'm going to show you now. In brief, it's about this. What is it? Then, how to activate JSON data delivery, because for security reason, the module by default will not deliver JSON. Then, we'll show you how to create a simple script, and also how to make sure that if we have this functionality in multiple modules, how to write the script so that they get along side by side without messing up each other. So, here we go. What's the JavaScript API? Well, in general, you need to include one file like that in your token template, or you could also put it into your skin if you're going to use it on every page, but that's not typical. So probably you want to put it into your token template or Razor, and then it's a call where you more or less say, for the current module, get my data, and when it's here, call my function, and now go ahead and do it. So what basically we did is we created this controller. It's this thing here we call the 2SexyContent controller. And this one's in charge of loading the data for you, making sure everything arrives in time, and then getting the callback with all the data it just received, all structured and nicely and things like that. So that's how it works. Sorry for that phone. And now we're just going to take a live look into how this is done. Let me just show you the background here. What I have here is a website, and you'll see an FAQ example. It has 6 items in it, and this is pretty unexciting. This could be done in Razor or tokens or templates, but it's missing in the source code. This is all delivered late, binding-wise. So I'm going to quickly log on and show you how the configuration is done, so that I can then show you how the JavaScript works. So just to quickly show this again, we have this first FAQ sample, and I'm going to show you the source code now, that there is no I can't zoom the font here, I'm sorry about that. But here's the first FAQ example. Here we have some JavaScript, which I'll explain later on. But the questions you saw on the screen are not here. Now, how does this work? First of all, what you must know is that in the module settings, this is something a customer will usually not do. But you must understand that in the module settings, there's a special thing called publish data. If you do not activate this, no data will be delivered. If you do activate it, then on this link here, you get the JSON data of everything that you just needed. Let me just tell you 2 or 3 things about this URL to make things seem a little bit simpler. I hope I can zoom on this. Okay. So we have a module ID in the URL. Then we have a parameter standalone true. That's something we do that's pretty neat. We haven't documented this before, but it actually makes 2SexyContent deliver everything without anything of .NET Nuke around it. So we're running inside .NET Nuke. DNN security is considered. Nothing works without DNN security, but the HTML output kills everything around it, delivers only this module. By the way, that's why we also added the module ID in there. Because if we don't add the module ID, DNN will try to render everything and all the controls even though we don't need them. And with the module ID, we're telling DNN, ignore everything else, we just want this module. The standalone true then flushes all the HTML we don't need. And by saying type data, 2SexyContent knows that it's going to deliver the JSON. And the pop-up true also just speeds it up a little bit for DNN, because DNN will not include the big skin, but just a very slim skin. So some of this is DNN functionality. The standalone true is 2SexyContent functionality, and type data is also 2SexyContent functionality. So that's how you activate data delivery. Without this, the samples will not work. Now, by enabling that, now this module works with JSON data delivery. And then we added a little script, which I'm going to show you here in Notepad. Let me just zoom into the font here a little bit. I hope you can read it pretty well. And I'm just going to make it as large as possible to make it easier for you to read. This just shows the list, title and everything, the FAQ, hello, how are you, things like that. So that's nothing special. Then here we include the standard script for the 2SexyContent controller. Nothing amazing, but without this it's not going to work. And with the data enable optimizations, we're making sure that it is going to be included in the client dependency. So if you have this 7 times on a page, it's still only going to be transferred once. Then, down here, this is actually the only really important and the really 2SexyContent part. Everything else then is your deal again. First, this is actually the important line. The 2SexyContent controller, we're saying that we're going to use it with this ID. Technically, you could write anything into here, like 27. But by using the module token, we're making sure that this module has a clear ID and that it's different from the other module's clear ID. This is important if you have a lot of modules doing this JSON functionality stuff. And then we're saying that the data on load should call this method here. This is pretty standard jQuery stuff. And then we're saying now go ahead and load it. So what we're saying here, load the data, and I'm going to get into this in a moment. It's going to call up this function, which in the end will call up this function here. I'm going to explain it in a second, which will generate the LI lists here, and then append it to this target ID. The target ID is down here, and here again it uses the module ID as part of the full ID, just to make sure that things get along side by side. So that's all the magic there is, actually. You'll notice, here's the page. We have one example with 6 questions, and we have another example with 3 questions. Both of them work the same way. I'm just going to quickly demonstrate what happens if I turn off data publishing. So if I say, no, this module will not publish data, then the second one will fail. This is very important to understand. Let's do a Control F5. I think it still gets some cached data. At the moment, it's still working. Okay, could be a little bug in the video, or it's a caching issue. But trust me, if this is not activated, it's not going to work. So, what else do I need to tell you? Let's look at the code one more time, just to understand how the side-by-side functionality works. The first thing I'd like to show is that this here needs the ID, so that if I use the controller multiple times, it actually always generates a new controller with this special number. Then, the callback does not allow parameters at the moment. So that causes a problem because the target is a different one for each module. So it's a little tricky to do this, and that's why we just quickly created, instead of trying to overload the main function, trying to get that parameter in there, which doesn't work, we just did this here. We created a tiny temporary function which contains the module ID as well, to say we're actually going to access the HTML item with this ID. So this is just a temporary function. It only exists inside this ready block. So if you have multiple of these ready blocks, they're not going to interfere with each other. I could have also written this inline here. I could have actually written this and copied it into here, but that would have made it a little nasty. That's why we chose not to do it. It would be hard for you to understand. And then here's the function itself. I'm going to zoom out a bit, hoping it becomes a bit clearer. First of all, we're getting the list of FAQs. And you must understand that data that comes in could have multiple channels. It could have an in and an out. It's some background stuff you don't understand at the moment. That's okay. But at the moment, we're also using the in channels of the data. And there could be multiple lists inside this channel. For example, you could have a list. There could be the FAQ list with the questions, the categories list, which contains all the categories. Maybe there's 7 categories and 20,000 questions. Then you'd have the default list maybe containing the questions, and the categories list containing the 7 categories. We haven't shown you how to configure this yet. This is still secret. So for the moment, just assume there's just one list, and this is how you have to access it. Then we're using a jQuery function called map, and this actually just converts one object into another by mapping information to each other. Pretty neat stuff. This is just a very, very short way of writing. Take each item here in the FAQ, and then in its content.question, pack it into this HTML. So if you want to understand this 2 lines, look it up in jQuery. And here again, this is very simple. The target ID, append everything we just got before. So this is how it's done. And thanks to using the module ID in 2 or 3 places, we can make sure that this module, even if it's in the same page, will not interfere with each other, and it'll fill in the right ULs, for example, in this case. So this is how to use the JavaScript API in a very simple scenario. On the website itself, click on Look Inside to look at this code. So it's there, it's live. Go ahead, give it a try, and I hope you love it. We certainly do. We think it's one of the best things, like right after sliced bread, except that in Switzerland, nobody would buy sliced bread because we have over 300 sorts of bread, and the sliced sort is like one of our low-quality stuff. So it's even better than sliced bread. Give it a try. Have fun. Discover it. Thank you for watching. This was Daniel Mettler, 2SEC Internet Solutions for 2SexyContent.